Another week, another dynamite podcast. Long Island's best, Bryn Elliott. People have been asking to hear from him for a few years since I started the podcast. He's a 20-plus year veteran, top producer, has his own team, done 50, 60, 70-plus deals by himself. Really an elite agent out of Suffolk County. Definitely worth checking out. Enjoy. Yeah, kid. Welcome you back to another episode of Smells Like Cappy with Handsome. I'm your host, Charles Weinraub, AKA the Handsome Homebuyer, AKA Captain Permit, AKA El Judío Maravilloso. Actually, and for what's name? For Kathleen Trent. I haven't shouted out Catherine Trent in a while. El Chulo de las Casas. You know what that means?
Something in the house?
No, El Chulo de las Casas means like. How do I explain this? It's like, you know what like a poppy is? Like,
yeah.
You're like the poppy of houses.
Got it.
It's more about like this motion than the actual words.
Okay.
Regardless, obviously, you know, if you have a house that smells like Cappy, dated from the 1960s, 6 inches of mold on the wall, what comes next?
Something floating past the basement
yes!
steps.
Human waste floating past the basement steps. I'm quick, I'm easy. Lord knows I'm a good time. This is a tough crowd today. I want to buy it. 51677 sold. We'd really appreciate it if you guys can help us. Obviously, we have a huge lofty goal this year, next year. Hopefully, we'll do it this year. If not, we're doing it next year. 200 houses.
200 houses.
200. And let me just
a lot of work.
Explain the rules here. 200 houses. 200 acquisitions of new construction, rentals, or fix and flip.
Okay.
Right. So whatever we get approved. So we got some big stuff in the works already. The eviction moratorium is done on Saturday. What?
Nice.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's gotten a little bit much.
Everybody who hasn't been paying their rent, get out. And now they're going to be doing foreclosures. Everything's going back on. So that's obviously going to free the market up for all of us and get things moving.
So to start the interview, if you picked up a 4-family, would that count as 4 units or one?
That's one property.
Okay, that's fair. And it's acquisitions, not
acquisitions.
Not
So if I pick up an apartment building, it doesn't matter what size. So like I am going to be closing on a piece of property we're going to build an assisted living facility. So even though it's 75,000 square feet and 138 beds, it's one.
It's one.
It's one. You know. So. But then I have in the works, I'm going to close probably in about 2 weeks, a piece of land in Riverhead, which is going to be a 25-lot subdivision that we're going to 3D print 25 houses.
Nice. That's amazing.
Biggest 3D printed subdivision in the world.
Very cool.
I have some other subdivisions working. So I divided it out. The point is, I want to do this for like another 3 years before I transition into private equity. And before I do, I got to feel like I was like the best to ever play the game. And in order to do that, I feel like nobody has ever done 200 houses in a year.
Nope. And you're doing it, man. That's, I don't know how many you're doing right now, but you're all over the place, and good for you, brother.
At any given time, we have about 45 to 55 houses physically under construction at a given time.
It's a lot to manage.
It's pandemonium.
Yeah.
I have a crazy team of people. It's growing every day. It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
But similar thing.
So cool.
Similar thing for you. Like you are, so we need to, please introduce yourself to everybody.
So my name's Bryn Elliott. I'm with Douglas Elliman Real Estate, and I work with a small team. So I work with 4 agents, admin, and myself. So we're a small group, and very fortunate. I love what I do, so I feel like a lucky guy.
So Bryn's very modest. In 2016, he was the #1 realtor in Suffolk County.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The team is doing on average, plus or minus because things go on. Obviously COVID, we were shut down for 3 months, but plus or minus, you're doing like 100+ deals a year with the team.
Yep.
And you're everywhere.
Trying to be, yeah.
And you're very well respected in the industry. That's why I've been trying to get you on for a while, because a lot of people keep hitting me up and they're like, yo, we want to hear from Bryn. We want to hear like what Bryn does.
Really? People ask that?
Yeah, a lot of people.
Oh, that's cool.
Bro, listen, to do, by yourself 60, 70, 80 houses a year is a lot of freaking houses. It's a lot. It's a lot of action.
Yeah.
It really is. And, especially like you're not a big social media guy, right?
No, I use social media to market my listings, but I haven't done a lot of self-promotion on social media.
Exactly. So people on Long Island especially, they know you, they know the area. They're really looking to kind of like understand how it is that you do what you do on such a high level, because you're in the top like 0.00001% of agents. True story.
Very flattering. Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah.
2.5% of all the agents do all the business, and then you're on that, the higher end of that elite group of people.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
So you focus primarily out East Suffolk County, like a certain. So how does it really work? Do you farm like a particular area, like a Larry Theodore? Let's say he was on here. He's like Mr. Farmingdale.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
So he sells every house in Farmingdale pretty much, and then kind of like branches out from there. But that's his shtick. How do you approach kind of your branding and marketing from that standpoint?
So I grew up in Bayport Blue Point. It's 2 towns, but it's 1 school district, so it's kind of like one community. And I lived in Sayville for about 19, almost 20 years. So I've lived between Bayport Blue Point and Sayville my whole life, and that's my core. And of course, I have my friends from high school, friends from college, and all my contacts. And so, a lot of them buy their first house a couple zip codes away. So if, you end up branching out a little bit, but that is my core, and that's where I do a lot of my business. And
So Bayport, Blue Point, Sayville?
Yep.
So, and think about this for agents that are listening to this. So you've done, again, 60, 70, 80, that you and the team, 100 plus houses sold. There's a lot of agents out there. I mean, listen, if you're doing, depending on what you consider to be a nice living, if you're selling 20 houses a year by yourself as an agent, not killing yourself, but working, and you have like a decent split, you're making good money. You have a good living and a great life, flexibility, etc. So a lot of agents, and the reason why I'm saying this is because you're doing that in a very small area. Like you're doing that in Bay Point, Blue Point, and Sayville.
Yep.
So a lot of agents, what I'm getting at is a lot of agents are like, they feel that they have to go all over the place everywhere, where in actuality, there's enough business in 1 or 2 or 3 towns that you can saturate a market and really become like the mayor or mayoress of that area and really do a lot of volume.
Right. And we do cover, most of Suffolk County. We're not out on the Forks or anything like that. And Mike on my team actually lives in Nassau.
Okay.
So we're geared a little more towards the South Shore. I won't go through everybody. Rich, for example, has lived between Hauppauge and Wisconsin his whole life.
Okay.
So we cover, but yeah, that's kind of the nucleus. But yeah, with what you're saying, there's definitely different ways, different business models to be a real estate agent. You can specialize in a certain type of property. For example, Rich Brewer is the condo guy. This is a different Rich than the one I just mentioned, but Rich Brewer is the condo guy. He focuses on condos. So he covers sort of a broader geographic area, but he's really focused on condos. Or you can, like you said, try to be the mayor of a zip code or school district or neighborhood. Yeah.
So how long have you been in real estate for?
A little over 17 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's been a minute. Yeah. We have this new show that we're doing. Dan and O'Neill and I are doing it called Creating a Top Agent. We started it last year with Amanda Palmieri, and we're doing it with
I
Jack
saw a couple of those come across. Yeah.
So what
That's awesome.
No, it's great.
It's so cool.
Very rewarding, and it's a cool thing to do. What I'm curious about is you came in the game 17 years ago. No social media. What was, and again, you're one of the elite top agents. Like, how did you get there? What was your training like when you came in? Did you have a great broker? Did you just wing it? Did you have an awesome social circle and you just got business?
It's a good question. There was a gentleman, he opened his own office, small mom and pop, and he had a lot of business experience. He had run different businesses. He had a video store. He had a deli sort of convenience store out east for a while. And so I feel very fortunate that I was able to start my career working under his wing. And it's funny how it's come like kind of full circle. I guess we'll be talking for a little bit, so we'll come back to that. But the way the industry is now, with the teams and everything, I was kind of lucky to start and have a mentor, if you will.
Yeah.
And so it was his company, and he always had a few. It was a small mom and pop. He had a few part-time agents, and but it was he and I did the lion's share of the business. And so we were partners as agents, but again, it was his company, and we did everything. I mean, I really learned how an office runs. There wasn't a huge budget, so we had a 3-ring binder, and we would, when we answered the phone, when other agents wanted to log make an appointment on one of our listings, we would handwrite it in.
Oh, Jesus.
This
is real old school.
And so
how old are you? We're not old enough for this stuff. How old are you?
I'm 41.
Okay.
But I learned the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
So we would, we had every listing had a page, and we'd flip to that listing and write in the appointment, call the seller, check off that the seller confirmed, call back and confirm with the agent, confirm the appointment. But we were answering the phones. We were the agents, we were the marketing department, we were taking the trash out at the end of the night. So it was not a great way to run a business as far as leveraging time or anything like that.
You got to learn everything.
But I learned the really old-fashioned values from him as far as business, face-to-face, things like that. Where for example, today I see a lot of agents, they'll get an offer and they'll present it, and then there'll be a counter, and they're texting. And there's a lot. I text all the time. I texted you when I was on my way here. But when you have a counter offer, it's worth it. If they're at work, wait till they have a lunch break or after work. Get on the phone when you're presenting a counter offer.
Yeah.
So there's a time and place to be face to face or at least on the phone. And so I learned a lot of the old-fashioned values there. And then he actually passed away in that, which it was tough. I became real close with the family, and but again, I learned so much from him. And then I was looking for somewhere where I could grow a little more. I did my research, and Douglas Elliman Real Estate made a lot of sense for me because I wanted to get more into technology. And but Douglas Elliman Real Estate is a traditional brokerage model, and the formula has been proven over time. It works. It's one of the top companies in the country, and number one in New York. So it just made sense. It's a traditional brokerage, but they're up to speed on technology. They have amazing technology, and so. But that's kind of how I got started.
So what to take it back a little bit more. So you start working with him. You guys are training. You're kind of doing everything, but especially at that time, again, no social media, because a lot of agents use social media.
Right.
Amanda and Jackie, Jackie, I have her making videos, 2 videos every single day, and awesome. Tagging us and all that, and they're just basic videos. But in a week's time, she already has people reaching out to her saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a house. I'm looking for a house." You built a huge business 17 years ago in a time where none of that stuff existed. So I'm kind of curious to know, because a lot of agents watch this that just can't get the traction. So what were you doing on the marketing and sales side when you first got into it? To make sure that you were closing these people. Was it easier then? Were there less agents in the industry? What was it like? It's social media is fantastic because when you're new, you want to let everybody know I'm a real estate agent. I'm in the business. So social media is perfect for that. But there's an agent, Joyce Rowe, who I have a ton of respect for. She's amazing. And she once said to me, "Bryn, when you have a listing, you're like a dog with a bone, And I don't want to have a failure, right? And this all ties in. So when somebody puts their trust in me, gives me an opportunity, I'm falling asleep at night thinking I have to get these people results. And if you do that, it all makes sense. You get them great results, they'll never forget it. You work hard for them. This business is a lifestyle. So if you're not into it, if you don't enjoy it, so I work real hard, and you get referrals. We did print. We did a good amount of print advertising. Okay.
I did some door knocking, which I don't love. I don't want to be a salesperson, even though so when you get into real estate, your license says New York State licensed real estate salesperson. I didn't want to see the word salesperson, so I went and took another class and a state test to become an associate broker. That's the only reason I did it, just to get. No, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I don't want to be a salesperson. But I did do some door knocking. I did some for sale by owners, not many. I did more expireds. There aren't many expireds today, but there was. Back then.
Interesting.
When I dove in full time in October of 2004.
Okay.
So there weren't a lot of expires in 2006, but in 2008, 2009, there was plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was it like, again, since you've been in the game for 17 years, so you've seen different markets. You came in 2004, which is just after the .com crash, so boom, then we're up. And then you went through the real crash, the Great Recession, and then now through COVID. So what has it been like?
What has it been like? What do you mean? More
just
recent?
So you've been able to stand the test of time through a bunch of different cycles at this point. Were you in it prior to the .com bubble or no? Well, you
No, I took the class and test in 02, but I dove in full time in October of 04.
Okay, so you wrote it up, then down, then up, then down, then up.
Kind of. I mean, that's accurate for the market cycle, but I wouldn't say I wrote it up because I was a brand new agent. I didn't do a lot of business my first handful of years in the business. I mean, it was a great experience. I learned so much, but I was really just trying to get going. And and I actually feel kind of bad for a lot of the new agents today because, you know, when you dive into a seller's market, it's very tough as a new agent in a seller's market. A buyer's market is
I guess that makes sense.
Not easy to work in. Like a buyer's market, there's clearly a lot of resistance in a down market, but it's a little easier as a newer agent. So, you know, like in New York City, where do real estate agents start? With rentals.
Yeah.
Right? Most people know that, especially a professional in the industry like yourself. But on Long Island, a lot of agents' first transaction is a buyer side.
Yeah.
So when there's, you know, 17 offers on a property, how many properties do you have to show them to get an offer? By then, a lot of times the buyer might leave you.
Yep.
You know, so it is hard. So I mean, in a seller's market, it's great to have listings, but it's hard to get going.
Yes.
And so my first few years, 04, 05, 06, I didn't do a lot of business. I was, we weren't docu-signing and stuff, so we'd walk out of the listing and sign the binder form on the hood of the car or the trunk of the car, that type of thing. And that was tough, but I learned a lot. And over the next handful of years, I just hammered. You have to be consistent in this business, and that's what gets you through all that.
So what was the change? What was the shift of, like, was it just like you were just pushing, and then one day it just took off? Or was there something that you did in year 3, 4, or 5 that really, projected you to do the business that you're doing right now? Because you're doing a lot of business, man.
So being at the small mom and pop was really a great way to learn the ropes. And I like that I learned the old-fashioned values, but regardless of that, learn the ropes and sort of how everything goes. But I got to a point where I kind of felt like it was, it was kind of holding me back, where I could only grow so much at that company. And just because of that particular setup where we weren't, there was no secretary at the front desk. There was no. So when I came to Douglas Elliman Real Estate, it did help me spread my wings and really start cranking along. I mean, it really did. We have staff, and I've been able to hire my own admin for my team.
Nice.
I have 2 admins. One's full-time, one part-time. And so when I came to Douglas Elliman, I started doing more marketing, and
it could have just been a combination of just you pushing and pushing and pushing, like, and then it just happens all of a sudden.
Well, it's the whole thing, yeah. So I was putting doing the marketing. I think a big part of my success is, by being available, by answering your phone. Because I know a lot of people that get into real estate and they have a full-time job and they do a couple transactions, and then they can't get past a certain hurdle because they're not available during the day, or they're not available. So being available as off as 24/7 as you can be. I mean, nobody calls at midnight, right? So if you could be there 9 to 9, 7 days a week, that's huge. Marketing's huge. Getting results for your clients is huge. The public, people are smart. They see, a listing get listed, and then a price change. They go, maybe that's not the agent for my house.
Yeah.
Or they see another house sell, and maybe in a different market than this, because a lot of homes are selling quickly right now, but they see another house selling, say, 30 days, and other homes are sitting, and then that agent sells another house, and that agent's pricing them right, doing the marketing, positioning the property the right way, doing video tours, photography, all that. It's a traction business, and you have to be consistent. So you married, kids?
Nope. No, not married, no kids?
Nope.
I'm the same way.
Married to the business, I guess. Yeah.
No, you and I are basically in the same boat. So I'm 42. When did you turn 41?
I'll be 42 in March.
Okay, so we're a few months apart, you and I.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. People are always like, how do you do this? Like, it seems like you're going all the time. Like, I am going all the time. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. I'm able to do that.
You're passionate
at
about
this point.
You're passionate about it.
Yeah, no, I am, but it's also easier for guys like you and I to do it because we don't have other demands on our time.
Yeah, demands on your time is huge, right?
Yeah, like if you're married and kids, different ballgame.
The way, like, I think that it's hard to find a flippable house, right? It's hard to find the deal. But if anybody really dedicated to themselves to it, I think they go out and find a house that they could get at a value and needs work that's flippable, and they could do a lot of the steps that you do. Like most people, there might be a learning curve, but they could find a house. Construction management, that's tough. It's very impressive the scale that you do it at. But it's it's tough dealing with contractors. But if somebody focuses on it, they could do it. So I feel like most people have what it takes to flip a house. They might need some resources, they might need a partner, some funds or something like that. But to scale it to the level you've scaled it, you need to be passionate about it. You need to be. You
got to be obsessed with it.
Yeah.
You pretty much have to be obsessed with it. And we set it up like.
And I am obsessed with my business, just like you are obsessed with yours. It's very clear. No, it
makes sense. And I guess that's anybody that's really successful on a high level at anything, right? Like you have to be like almost obsessed with it.
Yeah.
In order to do it. So how long have you had the team for?
Since January 1st, 2017. So just over 5 years. So
you've had the team because I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I wasn't paying attention, I've only been in real estate for 6 years. So the team thing seems to be more of like a newer thing. It seems like you launched the team before teams are really big. Or am I wrong?
Well, I wasn't the first team. I think the teams were big in commercial real estate first.
Yeah. And
then it was starting to... I got good advice from my office manager. He was pushing me to do it, and it was good advice, Brian Jada. And so I was one of the early birds. Yeah, I would say so. But I wasn't the first. Yeah,
no, but I mean that was there. Like now the teams are big. Like only in the last let's say 2 years, you have certain high profile teams doing a lot of social media stuff, and the teams thing has become more sexy and whatnot. But it seems like you were doing it a while ago before it was really big.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to do the transition? And then, because obviously that's a whole different, so you're kind of like, you're associate broker, but you're kind of like a broker within a brokerage. And then when you start managing people, it's A, demands on your time, and then B, it's a totally different skill set. And then C, you have to make sure that you're running it efficiently so that it's really monetizing, because there's a lot of people that run teams and the bottom line doesn't really make sense. So it's kudos to you to be able to do that for such a long period of time and have it make sense.
Yeah, and it's been terrific. Let me ask you this: because there was a learning curve. So on year one, it was just a couple of us, and the team's only grown to 4 agents and myself, 5 of us plus admin, plus Tina and Marissa. So what's the secret to being a landlord? Just if there was a key, I know there's so much to it.
Oh yeah, well no, there's a bunch of different things. So my opinion, what the key to being a successful landlord, you have to have really good property management, right? So the thing with being a landlord, in my opinion, is you don't want it to be either it's going to be really small and you're going to manage it yourself, which is a pain in the ass, or you have to buy a certain amount of them so that you can afford to have full-time management. You could do you can structure the deals where you can have a property manager running it, but
So, there's scale. There's so much you could talk about. What's the secret to property management or making sure that your tenants pay on time?
So this is what we do.
Yeah.
We gut renovate every building, every house to be new condition.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a theory called the broken window theory. It's a psychological principle.
You're familiar with it? It's so important. Yep.
So my thing is okay, we're going to make these things beautiful because A, I don't want to deal with the maintenance, and B, if these people see that they're beautiful, I have a higher likelihood that they'll take care of it because they'll see that I want to take care of it.
And it's the broken window theory, and it's tenant profile. It's tenant selection is a big part of property management.
Without a doubt. So there's that aspect of it.
Yeah.
The second is we do inspections every 3 months. So Corey's my full-time property manager. That's all he does.
So they respect you, yeah.
He's in there every 3 months. So a lot of tenants, even if they want to keep it nice, they won't tell you about something because they'll feel bad.
Yep.
So if you're in there every 3 months, it does 2 things. A, they know that you care and you're watching. And then 2, you can catch things. Because a leaky faucet for 6 months will destroy an entire kitchen. But a leaky faucet for a month and a half in between, not that bad. And if the tenants know and understand that, hey, we want you to call us, we want to fix it, we get it, shit happens, we don't care. You have that communication, your properties, you have happier tenants that stay longer. We also do a tremendous amount of work with the different programs like CDC, Section 8, et cetera.
Right.
The tenants stay a lot longer. So they're in the average Section 8 tenant is there for 11 and a half years. The average cash tenant is in there for 2 years. And even if you're getting more money, let's say from a cash tenant, you're losing money in the long run, in my opinion, or breaking even, because every time somebody moves out, you have to paint this, you're down for a month or two, whatever it is. Even in a hot rental market, you're losing money. That's when you lose money.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I want to set it and forget it. I want to put solid, good paying tenants in there, and I want them to be there
Do
forever.
it right from the start,
Forever.
and then you don't have anything to worry about for almost a decade. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
There's one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the one more thing, to your point, is like tenant profiling, right? So you have to make sure that you screen people appropriately. So a couple things that we do
huge.
is, so let's say you're a cash tenant. If you're a cash tenant, I have this thing called the 3 times net rent rule, which that's my shtick. So if I'm renting you a house in Mastic for $2,000 a month, if your household isn't netting after taxes at least 3 times that, or $6,000, I won't rent to you. Because I don't feel that you have adequate income to handle the rent and all the other things that are coming up in your life.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then a lot of people are like, Charles, that's nutso. Like, that means someone's household's making $100,000 a year. Why are they going to rent from you in Mastic? The answer to that question is, I don't know and I don't care, but there's a lot of people that want to rent. Like, I'll give you a crazy example. I buy 100 plus houses a year. I don't own a house. I rent an apartment. So it's just about lifestyle.
Yeah.
You never know. So there's that. I have an excellent rental agent who is bilingual and also has a certain street savvy who can kind of inevitably just look at somebody and say, are you going to pay your rent or not? Because of that, we have a very high, we don't really have like a lot of defaults. And plus, when you're working with these programs, like, I was just on the phone with CDC about a tenant that we're having a little bit of an issue with. And the cool thing about CDC is, so we have the lease with CDC, that's one. Now, the tenant wants to leave, we want her to leave, we're both in agreement of that. The tenant owes some back rent as a part of her portion. In order for CDC to put her in a different unit, she has to pay me in full and I have to sign off on it. If not,
wow.
Yes, if not only that,
I'm glad they do that.
They have to pay the utility companies also. In order for you to be moved from one unit to another with a voucher,
right?
Everybody has to be, you have to leave clear.
Yeah.
And if they don't and they get evicted, CDC stops paying, and then the tenant's responsible for that amount of money. And if the tenant doesn't satisfy and find a new unit within 6 months of the termination, they lose the voucher. And if they lose the voucher, they're screwed.
Yeah.
They're screwed.
Well, it's good that they do that too,
Well, yeah, and that's the great part about working with
checks and balances.
So that's really the key is just like open communication, respecting people. There's nothing like really unique or different or special about the way we do it. We just we're on top of everything.
That's how you run a team. You are running a team,
Yeah.
but there's so many parallels. That's a management. You're running a team, and you're so. I love how you're always, like, I've asked you questions in the past. You've always been so generous with your knowledge, which I appreciate, Charles.
Of course.
But anyway, so running a team, like, you need a cohesiveness. We had a holiday dinner. You need systems. You need checklists. You need people to know what's their responsibility and what's not.
Are you a very organized guy? You look like an organized guy.
I try to be. I am, but
you're the most put together agent I've ever seen in my entire life, bro. I'm looking at this guy because I'm not a very organized guy by nature.
Yeah.
I'm like, can we agree with that?
Yes.
Right, Scott? Yeah, I'm not. I try to be. I hire people that are organized, but myself, like, I have ADHD to the max. I'm all over the mark.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me. Time management's hard for me. You look like a person that manages time very well.
I have a strong sense of accountability, so that pushes me to make sure I take certain measures for my clients and that, and then a lot of stuff is kind of organized in my mind, and it's when you have a team and you're scaling, as you have to adjust and have come up with different systems, because when you're doing something with, you started with or you were and an admin, and now all of a sudden there's 5 or 7 of you have to make adjustments. And so I'm not always the best at communicating what's in my mind to everybody else. So that's one thing I work on a bit, and I'm not great at delegating. But yeah, I like to think I'm organized in a lot of ways. Yeah.
What as an agent, what do you think is like your super secret superpower? Like, what is the one thing that you do that you feel you do better than anybody else as far as a realtor goes? And that's not like, being cocky. It's just a matter of like everybody has their own thing that they're very good at.
I just I have a strong sense of accountability, and if you have that, then you're forced to just do it. I mean, when you flip a house, it's interesting. You don't have a client; it's you.
That's what I love about it.
Right.
That's what I love. Like, people are like, "Will you like pre-sell a house or build a house for me or something like that?" I'm like, "Thank you, sir." I'm like, "Absolutely not. Absolutely not." I'm like, I was in the body shop business before this. I owned a Mako franchise. You ever heard of Mako?
Yeah.
So people were absolutely out of their mind when it comes to their car. They would bring us in like old, like 1988 Hondas,
right?
And for like $300, they wanted the thing to look like a brand new car, which obviously isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
People are the same way with their houses. Like contractors, I have the utmost respect for what they go through. Like people,
hard work,
man, but people are nuts. They're freaking neurotic. So that's why I love this business so much, because I build it for me, but for the public, and I put it on there, I sell it, I work with great agents like yourself, they market it, they deal with all the negotiations, they bring me an offer, and it's gone, and I never have to hear about it again.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. No, it's definitely tough dealing with the public. There's all different personality types. You have to be a bit of a diplomat, but as far as the team, a big part of it, besides the systems and the checklists and the communication and the cohesiveness and really you have to know each other. A big part of it is sort of just picking to work with great people, and I have not focused on recruiting top producers. I'm not too worried about that. Okay. I want people who I have confidence in and I'm comfortable with, and they have the same ethics that I do, the same kind of moral compass. That's so important.
What is your
production can come later.
Do you have I was going to ask you, like, what is your criteria when bringing on an agent? Like, do you want, like, as far as the team goes, are you looking, is there a sweet spot for you as far as the number of agents? Like, you want 5 or 6 or 7 agents? Do you think bigger is better? Do you have a certain profile of agent that you bring in?
I don't think bigger is better. I love growth. I'm kind of hooked on growth, as you clearly are. I'm so proud of the agents I'm working with. They're amazing. We have Nick, Mike, Rich, and then like I said, Tina and Marissa, and Kyle's great. I'm so it's tough to lose him, but I'm happy for Kyle. So we were working with Kyle, and now Kyle is moving to Vermont.
Okay.
And then we added Rich Brewer has joined the team. So we had Rich G'day, now we have Rich Brewer. Everybody on my team has over 6 years experience.
Got it.
And I don't think it's actually a lot of fun talking to a brand new agent, and I love what you're doing with that. What is that? A podcast? You're doing those videos where you're making a top training a top producer.
Yeah,
that is fun. That's so cool.
It's a lot of fun.
But I am focused on my clients, so I can't spend the time with somebody to show them what check marks, what boxes to check off on the agency disclosure form, and the basics. So it's important to me that the agent does have some experience. I have worked with brand new agents, So
I'm with you, because once upon a time I thought about the brokerage model for a second, and I thought to myself, I'm like, what are the types of people that I would do? What would I offer? How would it work? And I was similar to you, like, not so much the new agents. I would want established people that were doing a certain level of business, and I'm going to help them crank that business up from like here to the moon.
That's how Barbara Corcoran built her business. She interviewed agents, and when I heard that, I'm like, nobody interviews agents. They're like, oh, please come to my company. They're just trying to recruit. They'll sign anybody. A lot of brokerages. The vast majority of them. Yeah. So I'd rather, for my team, all you have is your reputation. That's it. And so I just want us to really build that foundation, have the most solid foundation, and you can always increase production and grow.
So this is an interesting. So I have a question for you. I'm curious. So a lot of teams are centered around young agents that don't have experience. Because when you're a young agent, it makes sense. Like, oh, you want to.
It makes a ton of sense. They should join a team.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yours is different. Yours is similar to what, I would do. But the question I have for you is, what do you, and this is like a nod to you because you're obviously doing something great. For an agent that has 6 years experience to come and join your team, right? And obviously there's a cost to that and there's a trade-off between what they're getting and the cost.
Yes.
Like, what is it that you feel that you're offering, that you're doing, that you're creating that gives that kind of value to agents?
Well, yeah, a lot of people look at the split and things like that, but it's not all about the money for everybody.
No, it's a balance.
And if it's about the money, you probably don't want them on your team if that's the only. I mean, we're in business to earn a living and,
of course,
and improve our lives and put food on the table. But if that's what's on somebody's mind all the time or their focus, like obviously, I like money. You like money, but if you were just thinking about that, you wouldn't have built your business the way you have and to the scale you have.
Yeah.
You have a passion for real estate. I mean, you could have been a stock guy.
No,
No,
I'm sorry.
Yes. So they don't. I don't think any of the agents on my team join the team. They want to do better and earn more.
I think you're actually cutting yourself short. Not
What?
on the financial end. From the. I'm trying to give you credit, and maybe you don't even realize exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because
I'm flattered, man. I appreciate it. No, but they all have integrity and they want long-term growth, stability, and I do give them leads and marketing. I give them leads. Yeah.
So for me, and forget about money because it's not money is something's only expensive in the absence of value, right? Mm-hmm. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you is, I think whatever it is that you're doing is giving people so much value that for whatever that
it's worth it.
Percentage is that they're like, I want to come here. I want to be around Bryn. Even if I'm making X amount less than going somewhere else, I'm going to make a lot more because I'm with him. I like the energy. I'm happy. I go home every day. I'm happy, and I'm doing more business as a result of his systems, his guidance, his marketing, etc.
They want to better themselves. They want to learn. They want to grow, and I think that there's a trust factor too. Yeah. I've had agents tell me, in confidence that they're not comfortable working with somebody in particular. Mm-hmm. That's out there. I mean, I'm so proud of our industry. There's so many amazing people, but if somebody's willing to get lazy on their client or cut a corner, they don't want to be with that type of individual.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It seems like, and you also create like your own corporate culture. So the more I talk to you and the more like I get to know you, because we've talked a bunch on the phone here and there, and we tried to put a deal together, and God willing, is there wood around? We'll knock on it later. We get to do that sooner than later because that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it seems like you've created, like when I think about you and I start to know you a little bit better, I'm like, this is a guy who's like, you're just like a good salt of the earth person who like works really hard. What you say is what you do. A handshake is all that needed. You're kind of like a throwback to a time that doesn't exist anymore.
Well, thanks, man. That's huge. And that's kind of what we're looking for. Integrity is everything. Those old-fashioned values. We want to, I want to elevate our industry. I want to be the best we can be. And if there's, and I'm always thinking, if there's something that I'm not delivering on, how can I ratchet that up?
And to kind of like cap it off, you were an agent, like in the last like maybe like 3 to 5 years, being a realtor in like the public eye has become looked at more of like as a profession. Whereas 20 years ago, plus 30 years ago, it wasn't. It was more of like a part-time thing or a part-time housewife type of thing. Like the industry has changed and people's perception of the industry has changed. And you can make a tremendous amount of money being in real estate sales.
Yeah, and technology has made it almost like better for the top producers because it's so obvious. I mean, there's a lot of people that fake it till they make it. They try that, but there's a lot of transparency with technology and social media.
Yeah.
So
you go on that app. What's that app? HomeSnap?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
I don't know which one.
Yeah,
HomeSnap. Yeah.
Yeah, because you go on HomeSnap and it tells you exactly what everyone's doing.
Yeah.
So to your point, like you can't fake it anymore.
Yeah, Real Trends, Zillow. Yep.
So I'm curious to know in 2022, what's a goal that you're reaching for, something that you're doing well at that you want to do even better at, and then what is something that that's kind of like a weak point of your business that you're really looking to improve on?
We want to continue to grow. I want to really really mesh well with Rich Brewer. I'm so flattered that he joined the team. He's been in the business for 35 years. So
wow,
that's pretty cool.
That's what I'm saying. That's a big deal, man.
Yeah.
For a 35-year veteran who knows what they're doing, to come in and join a team is probably the ultimate compliment.
Yeah. So I want to work on.
I hope he brands himself the condo guy.
Yeah. He's the condo guy.
Is that his shtick, the condo
Rich
guy?
Brewer, yeah.
The condo guy.
LongIslandCondos.com.
Oh, I didn't know. I don't know.
Yeah, he owns LongIslandCondos.com.
Nice. Very smart.
Yeah. So I just want to help everybody on the team just do a little more production, kind of accomplish their goals, whether that be 10% more, 40% more, and grow the team in that manner, and get more systems going. And what's my weakness?
Yeah. What are you struggling with that you want to do better at?
Delegating. I'm a doer. I'm not a delegator. So I definitely have to work on that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we all have something.
Yeah.
I guess one last question before we wrap up. Do you what kind of accountability do you hold to the team, in the sense that, do you have weekly structured meetings? Do you have daily calls with these guys? What do you do to kind of make sure they're doing their thing, or are they kind of out there doing their thing and they just know that you're a resource and it's an open door policy?
The latter is a big part of how we operate. Okay. And then we'll have whether it's a meeting or a Zoom meeting, not more than every 2 weeks at the most frequently, and that can drop off in busy times of the year like the spring. So but if there's something, a lot of it's one-on-one where somebody, maybe they're doing great and I'm like, all right, now it's time to push them, or there's something I want them to work on, or I just haven't really sat down with them for a while. Just meet them at the diner and have a sandwich or an omelet or something, so but yeah, a lot of the latter.
Yeah. So, and I guess that makes sense. When you have seasoned agents, they're kind of doing their thing, but they always know that they have the safety net of being able to come back to you and say, what should I do? How do I handle this, et cetera?
Yeah. And we have certain things where, for example, every time there's a new team listing, Tina will send it out to the whole team, make sure everybody's aware of it. And then when we're working on a listing together or with a buyer together, we know what we have to do, and we're always communicating
nice.
With that. And we always are talking about certain situations too. Things come up. Mike will give me a call, Nick will give me a call, Rich will give me a call, and we'll talk through the best approach, or if there's a unique property, how can we really put it under the best light possible and get the best results.
Nice. No, it's great, man. Listen, you're, admit it or not, you're a young legend in the game. People have a lot of respect for you. I hear your name constantly.
That's cool.
So it's very nice to finally connect with you, because I know you're a busy guy, and especially you're not that close. So thank you for spending the time and coming in and chopping it up.
Thanks for having me, man.
I'm sure a lot of agents will get stuff out of this. So if obviously if anyone's looking to buy or sell a home, or if there's agents that aren't happy with their current situation, they're looking for another team and they want to have that conversation, how do people get in touch with you?
You can find me online. You can email me. My cell phone is 631-332-8899. And Bryn Elliott. Bryn is Bryn. Elliott has 2 L's and 2 T's. BrynElliott.com.
There you go. So, and obviously I'm the Handsome Homebuyer. If you have a house that smells like cat pee, you know the drill. If you have real estate, I want to buy it. And obviously don't forget about the Captain. If you have a permit problem, and Lord knows if you're in real estate, you have a permit problem. If you're a homeowner that's going to sell your house, most likely, if you don't have a permit problem today, you're going to have a permit problem. 516-513-8838. That is a wrap.
My man.